So I train my forearms specifically for 70 days, every single day without fail. The method I followed is very much in line with nucleus overload, and I made an entire video going through that and the way that I implemented it, so make sure to check that video out if you are interested in learning more. In brief, nucleus overload basically espouses that you absolutely demolish a muscle with high frequency, high volume, high intensity every single day for 4 to 5 weeks. Then you take a complete detraining period to let super compensation happen from the overtraining, overreaching period you just had. The theory here is that it will lead to new satellite cells being created within your muscle, which will literally unlock new growth potential that you literally couldn't have gotten before. It's based on some mice studies, I believe. Nothing actually shown in humans, but it was worth trying. I've known about this kind of training for quite a long time and I've been skeptical, but some of the people I follow have been doing it recently and speaking about it recently, and I am sick of having tiny bitch ass forearms, so I thought I'd give it a try. Every single day of the week I did 5 sets of forearm exercises. Every day it was just one exercise for 5 sets, and it was based on what I felt like doing that day, but I kept a log of all the different exercises I was doing to make sure that I was progressing throughout them. Some of the exercises were things like dumbbell wrist curls, barbell wrist curls, cable wrist curls, behind the back barbell wrist curls, wrist rollers, love those, but it's pretty boring really. With those exercises I did 5 sets between 10 to 30 reps to failure with just 20-second rests between the sets. Maximum pump, huge amounts of volume, huge amounts of intensity. That's basically nucleus overload training, and that is exactly what I did. I just want to clarify as well, you should not and do not want to be doing this for the big muscle groups that are easily stretched and damaged, like chest, quads, hamstrings. Like nucleus overload on your hamstrings is basically getting in a grave whilst alive. But for the stubborn, resilient muscles like abs, forearms, side delts, calves, this can absolutely work a treat. So I've now been doing this for 70 days, which is 10 weeks, and I am now going into my detraining period. So what was the result? In brief, it went pretty well. Better than expected. I thought by the end of the 70 days I'd be absolutely sick of training forearms. But the thing is, the volume was so condensed and compact. With the short rest periods, it literally only took 5 minutes per day, so it wasn't a big burden at all. It also must have helped that I was so motivated to see some growth in my forearms. And then also, what guy doesn't like walking around with big, meaty, veiny, pumped up forearms swinging by his thighs after he leaves the gym for a few minutes? I was also very worried about overuse issues in my wrist and causing stuff like elbow tendonitis just based on all the forearm work, but it actually didn't happen at all. There were a couple of times throughout the 10-week period where I got some random pain in my wrists or forearms, which concerned me straight away, but then within a couple minutes it went away and never or very rarely came back. So really, I think that my personal implementation of forearm training went pretty well, and if the results are decent, it's something I'd be happy to continue doing in the future. It wasn't like it was an awful thing that I'm really glad is out the way. So before even measuring things out, there are a few things that I noticed in terms of results. For one, the strength in my forearms absolutely shot up. On the face of it, that seems like a good thing, right? Because if I am getting stronger, there is probably more muscle mass in the forearm to move weight. But the thing is, when you actually think about it, the whole concept here is that we are doing a short-term overreaching of the forearms, which would actually decrease the amount of strength that they have. Overreaching means that they won't be getting better and stronger in the short term, which means I then wouldn't get the super compensation period afterwards. So it might mean that I wasn't doing enough volume because I was actually progressing. With nucleus overload training, I shouldn't be progressing because I'm overtraining. What I'm hoping is that because I hadn't been training forearms up until that point, I was getting the neural adaptations and the CNS adaptations, and I would have been progressing here, but because I was overtraining, I was progressing here, but that was still progression from here, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I also noticed that visually, I think my forearms look bigger. I hope so, and it looked like it anyway. That might well be wishful thinking, but it's what I saw. And what definitely happened was my ability to dispose of waste product buildup within the muscle improved massively. First week of this nucleus overload training, I would literally have the most brutal, gnarliest pump in my forearms for a good 20 minutes after training them. But then towards the last week of the 10-week period, it would last for around 2 minutes, and the pump itself wasn't insane. So my body was getting way better at buffering the lactate going into the muscles. That is definitely not a good thing when it comes to muscle growth, but it's kind of expected. But who cares about all that crap? Let's talk about actual measurements. Before I started this nucleus overload training in my forearms, my straight, unflexed, flaccid, bitchy forearms came in at an astonishing 10 inches and 6/8 of an inch. Tiny. And now, 7 days later, they come in at an enormous, unflexed, straight, flaccid 10 inches and 7/8 of an inch. An entire 1/8 of an inch change. On the face of it, that sounds very underwhelming. And truthfully, I was hoping for more. But we do need to put things in context because there's quite a lot of context here. First bit of context is that up until now, trying everything under the sun other than nucleus overload training, my growth was 0. So any growth is a success. The second thing to keep in mind is that I haven't done that 2-week detraining period yet. So I've done the overreaching, I haven't then done the detraining super compensation period. So if what they say is true, it is very likely that I can actually grow more over the next 2 weeks. So I'll be keeping you posted on that. And lastly, the size of the muscle itself. If we look at that 1/8 of an inch increase as a percentage, that is a 0.11% increase in the circumference of the muscle. If we extrapolate that to a bigger muscle than the forearm, let's say a chest, which could easily be 44 inches, a 44-inch chest growing by 0.11% would be an increase of nearly half an inch, and that would be a noticeable and impressive improvement for a well-trained lifter. So as a percentage increase of the circumference, it's actually not bad at all. The elephant in the room with all of this, however, is obviously that 1/8 of an inch is well within the margin of human error when it comes to measuring, but we're just not going to talk about that one. So based on the results I've just spoken to you about and the whole experience, what is next? I'm going to carry on. Yes, 0.11% of an increase is somewhat underwhelming, but if we total these increases up over a year of nucleus overload training, that 1/8 of an inch could be 4 to 5/8 of an inch. And that wouldn't be underwhelming at all. That would be really impressive. That would be noticeable on a small muscle group. Imagine putting half an inch on your calves. Obviously, that would be assuming that the muscle will continue growing at that rate, and I can't guarantee that at all. But what I can guarantee, and what I do know for sure, is that it won't continue growing if I just stop. So if I want it to keep growing, the only thing I can do is keep trying. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me know your thoughts on these results in the comment section below, and let me know something that you think you might try. What muscle group? If it's something you've done before, tell me if you got better results than me, or maybe if it didn't work for you. I'd be really interested to hear your comments, questions, concerns, all of that kind of stuff. The top link in my description will go to my online coaching services. Hit me up and get in touch. I am getting loads of new inquiries lately, so get in before the prices go up, because things are looking good over here. Thank you for watching. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment and a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, because it really helps the crappy ass algorithm right now and helps my videos reach a new and wider audience. So that is always massively appreciated. Thank you as always for watching. Until the next one, see you later guys.